session by Gülnur, YENİLMEZ, KAÇAR.
Okay, I'm here.
Oh, great. Serdar, can you stop
Yes.
sharing your... Thank you. Do you have a presentation for us?
So can I share it? Yes, I have.
Yes,
Can
of
I?
course. You can share it now.
Okay. Now you can see it.
Yes.
Okay.
You will make it full screen, or will you be presenting like?
Okay, I will be using the full screen version. Okay. So thank you. My name is Gülnur YENİLMEZ KAÇAR. I'm a lecturer doctor at Trakya University. Today I'd like to talk about the relationship between the use of social media and loneliness during COVID-19 pandemic. So as you know well, COVID-19 pandemic is on the agenda of all the world still. It started in fall 2019, and it still affects all the world. And it has dramatic effects on our lives, on the economy, like unemployment, stagnancy, and in politics, like drop in trust in governments. And of course, that's the worst part, like 5 million deaths as of 23rd of October 2021. And in order to prevent the spread of the virus, the governments took some precautions against, and these included social distancing, stay-at-home restrictions, and curfews. And of course, because of that, people were trapped into their houses and spent more time at home. And as a result of this, there was an increase, a dramatic increase in social media consumption. So when we look at the figures, 500 million people, we can see that 500 million people have started to use the social media for the first time for the last year. And the total number we can see here, around 5 billion now. It's like half of the world's population today use social media. And when we look at the time span on social media, we can see that it's 2 hours and 25 minutes. It's just on social media, not on the internet, just social media. And according to one study in the US, people spend extra 1 to 2 hours on social media on average per day during the pandemic. So you can add, like we can say that it's like 4 hours every day. So why do people use social media during pandemic? So the major purposes are like to keep track of news and information for updates of coronavirus or vaccination. Of course, social interaction for communication purposes, to contact with their friends, relatives, and of course to get rid of boredom for entertainment. But we also think about the effects of social media. There are two approaches to social media effects. Some studies focus on negative effects, and they assert that social media use results in loneliness, anxiety, social withdrawal, distorted body image, etc. But some others argue that the social media use lead to a decrease in loneliness, anxiety, and depression, and an increase in self-esteem. So as you can see, they are conflicting. And in line with this, mood management theory claims that individuals use specific media to control their emotional states, to get rid of their negative emotions, and so that they can obtain a more positive mood. And starting from this theory, based on this theory, we think that social media channels, because they are the only channels during the pandemic to establish communication with the others, we think that individuals may self-regulate, may control their emotions, and they can get rid of the feeling of loneliness using social media. So we investigated if there is a relationship between the feeling of loneliness and the use of social media. By investigating this, we tried to explore the use of social media and loneliness levels during the pandemic, and we aimed at proposing a model to explain the association between these variables. So we employed the method quantitative research, an online survey through Google Forms, and the data collection was between 18th and 31st of May 2021. For data analysis, we use SPSS 22, and we conducted descriptive analysis, t-test, ANOVA, and Pearson's correlation. The sampling was through snowball sampling and convenience sampling. Our sample consists of 178 participants, as you can see from gender part. And the age limit, there was no restriction for age limit, in fact. And half of the participants were 21 to 26. And there are some participants like 7% more than 44, the age of 44. And there were some participants under the age of 21. And we, of course, got the ethical approval to conduct this study. And it was from a committee of Turkey University. And let's look at the results of our study. So we first investigated the most used social network sites for the participants. So it was Instagram, like 81% indicated that they used Instagram the most. And when we look at the time spent daily on social network sites, we can see that half of the participants, more than half of the participants, spend 2 to 4 hours on social network sites, only social network sites, by the way. So these findings are consistent with Digital 2021 Turkey report. This report indicates it's around these people spend in Turkey around 3 hours on social network sites. And to discover the social circles on online platforms, we asked the participants about the number of followers or friends on the on social network sites they use the most. So they indicated that they have 300 to 450 participants on average, so as you can see here. But they like 70% indicated that they had more than 300 followers and friends on social network sites. So according to number, people can maintain up to 150 meaningful relationships. And our figures can mean that they don't have meaningful relationships on the whole. And we also investigated the total number of accounts on all social network sites. This is like we want to discover the engagement rates on social network sites, because more accounts they have, it means that the more they engage on social network sites. So according to figures, they have 4 to 5 accounts on all social network sites. And 14% is here, have 6 or more accounts on all social network sites. So it means they have, for example, two Instagram accounts, or they have 3 Facebook accounts, it means. So the engagement rate is very high. I cannot, okay. So we also investigated the change in social media habits during the pandemic. To save time, I'm just skipping, I'll explain in the other one. Okay, so here, as you can see, we investigated the increase in time spent on social media. Most of the participants indicated that they spent more time during the pandemic on social media. So in 5-point Likert scale, we can see that it's 4.07, so it's quite high. But on the other hand, in contrast to our expectations, they indicated that they didn't increase sharing contents on social media. So they didn't share more content on social media compared to pre-pandemic period. But when we conducted t-tests to compare female and male on change in sharing content on social media, we have observed that female participants are more likely to share contents on social media than male counterparts. So also in prior study, we have observed this. Women are more inclined to share posts. They're more inclined to perform self-presentations, to draw attention and to seek affection. We also conducted correlations among variables. This is just to give you an idea about the study. I wouldn't go in detail. So here we also measured loneliness. So the feeling of loneliness was measured by UCLA loneliness scale. It was developed by Hayes and Matteo, but we used the Turkish version of it. And when we tested the reliability, Chromebus Alpha yielded 0.788, so it's highly reliable. And we also conducted ANOVA to check the effect of follower number on other variables. And okay, so I just want to focus on highlights of correlation and ANOVA analysis. So according to our study, the higher the number of accounts, the higher the number of followers participants have. So the higher number of accounts participants have, they spend the higher the time they spend on social media. And the number of followers are also the number of followers is related to time spent on social media. The higher number of followers they have, the more time they spend on social media. and also ANOVA analysis confirmed this. So according to ANOVA test, participants with 451 to 60 followers spend much more time than the ones with 1 to 150 followers. And the most important part for us is here. As the time increases on social media, the level of loneliness decrease. So when if people spend more time on social network sites, loneliness levels decrease. They don't feel more lonely. And as the number of followers increases, the level of loneliness decreases too. So it means that the followers on social network sites function as alternative to social circles in face-to-face communication, like traditional communication settings. And as the number of accounts on social network sites increases, the level of loneliness decreases too. So there is a negative correlation between them. So it means that they engage in more on social network sites, they interact more with more people, and they relieve the loneliness feeling. And we developed a model for this, but to be tested with wider sample, of course, for the future study. So as the number of accounts increase, so the number of followers increase too. And the time spent on social media increases as the number of accounts increases. And they're linked to loneliness. If the number of followers increases, people feel less lonely. And if they spend more time on social media, they feel less lonely, but this is just for the pandemic period. So conclusion, we have observed that there is a significant increase in time on social media during the COVID-19 pandemic as expected. We have understood that social media are beneficial tools to control the mood during the pandemic. So in contrast to studies reporting negative effects of social media, but this is before pandemic, this particular study shows that the active use of social media relieves the feeling of loneliness. So it reduces the feeling of loneliness, which contributes to overall happiness in turn. So this study also is significant in that it demonstrates the nature of loneliness in a digital society in times of crisis. So it can be used to combat the adverse effects of crisis like pandemic. Okay, thank you for listening. For further information, you can mail me. Okay, these are the references. Okay.
Thank you very much. It's obvious that you made a research, and thank you for sharing your findings with us.
Thank you, thank you.
It was very interesting to listen to.
Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to present my work. Thank you.
Are there any questions for our presenters? I don't see any questions in the chat box, and we still have some time, but without going further with the questions, I would like to remind everyone that we have 2 keynote speeches. One is at 3 p.m. in Zoom room 1, which is about internet and social inequality. And in Zoom room 2 at 4 p.m., we have another keynote speech, and that's about strategic communication and public diplomacy. If you're interested, please tune in to those rooms. And if there are no questions, I would like to ask 2 questions for my friends. Oh, does someone have a question?
Yeah, Dr. Simge.
Oh, yes,
Here.
please.
Yeah, I have 2 questions for Dr. Sadal. The first question is how he select the brand to analyze, and the second question will be how he actually analyze the content. I mean, what is the method that he used to analyze the content? Yeah, there are 2 questions.
Oh, thank you for your questions, Sardar. I guess you should explain your methodology a bit more, maybe, if you like.
Thank you so much for the question. It was not possible to express everything in 10 minutes, of course. But I said, how did I choose the sample? Actually, there is a company, Boom Social. It scores social media performances of brands, and I chose the top 50 brands of the social brands ranking. This is for the first question. And then the content analysis part of the, so I can say the method is content analysis, but this is a very basic analysis on only the numbers of the posts, and I coded them in 3 main categories. One is commercial, the other one is the about the fires, let's say social responsible posts, and the other category is the other ones, not in any of these 2.
I think, thank you.
And I gave the and I shared my results only in terms of descriptive statistics, I can say.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Serdar. And maybe we can read more about it when you publish the full article.
Yeah, sure.
I think we still have time. I have questions for my friends in the presentation. One of them is for Naim and the other one will be for Serdar, if that's okay. They're more like opinion questions, actually. For Naim, you said that data collection will regress in terms of privacy if we go in this direction, and that you say that there should be no data collection, right, for total privacy. And I believe in the same thing, but that raises the question of, do we need to pay for those applications or websites from now on? Because for now, it's kind of like we're paying with our data, right? It's just a personal question for me.
They are threatening us with this thing.
Yeah.
If you want free content, you have to give something, and in this case, mostly your information. But you know, with GDPR now, they are forced to change it. At least we know that when we visit a website, there are a lot of companies we're not even aware of, and they're collecting information on us, and they've been doing it for about 25 years now. So with these regulations now, they're enforced to stop it. But the industry is a huge industry, it's $1 billion industry. So they have to reinvent ways to gather your data. So I think that's why the regulations should be very proactive, because if they wait for them to find the technology, they have to follow it. If they keep on following them, we always, you know, keep on sharing our data with knowing or without knowing, because I think in the near future, we will be probably most websites will ask us to log in at least, because if you don't log into a website, you won't be able to see the content. For example, in the examples of medium.com, if you want to see the content, you have to log in. Probably many websites will follow this way because they have to collect first-party data. So they will always look for ways to gather our data, and we always have to fight. And with the base of legal regulations, we need all these things to protect our data privacy. I think this will be an ongoing fight in the near future too.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Thank you for that. And as for my question for Serdar, keeping silent is not just for brands. It's not just a marketing strategy, I think. We do that too sometimes, you know, when you at the end of your presentation, you said, like, if you don't have something to say, then don't say anything. And we do that as well. But I want to know, because I'm not an advertising scholar or in public relations, I want to know, which do you think is a better stance for brands? Do you think they should keep silent, or do you think keeping silent is a good strategy? And if so, in Turkey, maybe keeping silent could have a political aspect to it. I want to know about that if possible.
Thank you for the question, Simge. For the first one, I think it depends on the brands totally. The brands have their own objectives, own brand objectives, and so brand personas. So the keeping silent or talking about the social issues is really based on the brands itself, I think. So in this study, we saw they choose to keep silent. Actually, the other part, the end of your question, the political part of it, I think this study is not enough to talk about it. So I just encoded the numbers of the posts of the brands. So we cannot say that. I think maybe this may be a future research for this issue, this topic, to understand why did they behave like this. So why did the brands choose keeping the silence or promote supporting the firefighting or supporting the other this kind of social issues and so on. So yes, I get what you mean, the political part of this, especially in specifically in this topic, the forest fires, I see. But as I said, I think my research is not enough to say something on this part of the issue, the problem.
Okay, and maybe we can look at if there are other studies in other countries, maybe that can give us a clue as well, maybe. But it was very interesting to listen to. Thank you again to all our presenters. And I believe there are no other questions. We can wrap up. Oh, yes, please.
Hi, I'm Chin from Malaysia. I have questions for Dr. Gülnur
YENİLMEZ.
Sorry. Okay. My first question is how did you determine your sample size? Because your sample size is 178, right? So do you think the sample size is enough for the data analysis? And can you use the result of your study to generalize to the whole population in Turkey? That's my first question. And the second question is what is the practical implication of your study? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for questions. The first one is the sample size. Okay, it's a pilot study. It doesn't represent Turkish population because it's like 384 represents the Turkish population if you're conducting a social study. So it's like a pilot study to question if I will have any significant results or not to develop a model. So I offered a model like in my, I think on the last slide of my presentation, but this is not valid because I have to conduct, how can I say, on almost like structural equation model so that we can replicate, we can use the model for other samples. So in fact, it's just exploratory, not a confirmatory study. So it just gives us some information about the case in Turkey. I will later, by the way, I'm now planning to conduct a survey with a wider sample. And not, I won't include just loneliness scale. I will also put there, for example, big 5 personality measures, so that we can also look at the correlation between the personality and the loneliness and the social media use. It will, I think, give more reliable findings, results.
Dear colleague, I hope that was explanatory for you.
Yeah, explanatory for me, yeah.
Oh, no, not you, our colleague who asked the question.
What about the second question, in terms of the practical implication?
Okay, so I can say that if we, for example, if we confirm the model, we can suggest that we can use, for example, in the time of crisis like pandemic or other things, for lockdown periods, for any cases, we can say that social media is beneficial in terms of continuing social relationships and to reduce psychological effects on people, or on psychological well-being of people.
Right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your question too. Thank you.
If there are no other questions, we can wrap up this session. And like I said, in Zoom room 1, our keynote speech has already started, I guess. So if you like, please tune into that. Thank you again for all our presenters.
Thank you.
It was a very interesting presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the organization also. Have a nice day.
Okay, have a nice day.
Bye.